The Little Nightmares universe remains one of the most haunting and intricate timelines in gaming. Developed by Supermassive Games, the series has carved out a space among the best horror experiences of the last decade, with a mix of childlike wonder, twisted imagery, and layered storytelling that leaves players questioning everything long after the credits roll. But let's be real, trying to piece together Little Nightmares timeline is a nightmare itself. Between the core titles, the mobile prequel, and the DLC expansions, keeping track of what happens and when can be a bit confusing. To understand the full scope of its story, you actually have to start with the mobile game, Very Little Nightmares, then move to Little Nightmares 2, and then you realize that Little Nightmares and its DLC, Secrets of the Maw, occur simultaneously. So in this video, I'll be breaking it down. This is the complete chronological guide to Little Nightmares and the timeline fully explained. Before getting into the games, it is important to understand the setting. Every Little Nightmare story unfolds in a place known only as the Nowhere, a distorted reflection of reality where the rules of nature and logic break down. Here, humans are small, fragile things haunted by grotesque beings known as residents. Each of these creatures represents twisted human vices, greed, obsession, gluttony, vanity, which take on monstrous form. Across every entry, our protagonists are small children trying to escape the clutches of these nightmare-filled figures. Their journey is a grim allegory about survival, innocence, and what it means to grow up in a world that seems designed to devour you. Chronologically, the first entry in the timeline is Very Little Nightmares, a mobile game that sets the stage for everything to come. The story begins with a mysterious young girl traveling in a hot air balloon that crashes into a towering mansion perched on the edge of a cliff. This place is known as The Nest, a maze of traps, secrets, and monsters. Inside, she encounters several eerie figures, including a strange craftsman obsessed with creating dolls. These dolls are made out of living children. As she tries to escape, she meets another child, a quiet girl. Fans will come to recognize her as Six, the protagonist of the main games. Together, the two navigate through the mansion's horrors, encountering the likes of the butler and the mansion's eerie matriarch, the Pretender. But the game ends in a tragedy. The girl sacrifices herself to help Six escape. All that's left of her is her iconic yellow raincoat, the very same one Six will later wear. This event sets off the chain reaction that leads directly into the main Little Nightmares saga. Next in the timeline comes Little Nightmares 2, a prequel that dives deeper into the world of the Nowhere while expanding on the origins of Six. The game opens with Mono, a boy wearing a paper bag over his head, waking up alone in a dark forest. He is haunted by visions of a strange door marked with an ominous eye. As he explores, he stumbles upon a decrepit cabin, and there he meets Six, imprisoned by a monstrous figure known as the Hunter. After a daring escape, the two children float across the sea on a makeshift raft and find themselves in the Pale City, a decaying metropolis dominated by static-filled televisions and citizens who have become addicted to their screens. Mono, drawn towards the mysterious transmissions coming from a massive tower, keeps being pulled into TVs, seeing the door with the eye each time. Eventually, he and Six face off against a number of grotesque beings, namely the sadistic teacher, the deranged doctor, and finally, the Thin Man, a tall, faceless figure in a suit who seems to stalk Mono through televisions. After a tense battle, Mono defeats the Thin Man and reaches the tower. Inside, he finds Six transformed, corrupted by her obsession with a music box. When Mono destroys the box, she regains a human form, but their relationship shatters in the process. As they try to escape the collapsing tower, Six grabs Mono by the hand, only to let him fall into the abyss. Whether this was betrayal or mercy is never made clear. What we do know is that Mono survives, but is twisted over time time into the very creature he defeated, the Thin Man. This is a chilling revelation that completes a time loop, with Mono becoming the very monster who haunted him. 6 meanwhile escapes into the fog, her stomach growling with hunger. In the distance, she spots an image of a massive sheep known as the Maw, setting the stage for the next chapter. While 6's journey continues, another tale unfolds aboard the Maw. This is told in the DLC expansion, Secrets of the Maw, which runs parallel to the events of the first main game. Here we follow the Runaway Kid, another child trapped in the monstrous underwater vessel. The Maw serves as a grotesque cruise ship where the grotesquely wealthy feast upon anything and anyone to satisfy their endless appetites. The kid begins in a filthy prison, escaping the clutches of the janitor, a blind long-armed monster who captures children for the ship's guests. Along the way, he encounters a group of small skittish creatures called gnomes. These are harmless beings who once were children themselves. The kid befriends one of them, and together they navigate through the horrors of the Maw. But the story takes a tragic turn when the kid eventually confronts the lady, the mysterious ruler of the Maw, and is then transformed into one of the very gnomes he befriended. In the final scene, we see him standing beside a piece of sausage left on the floor, a seemingly insignificant moment that gains meaning later on. The events of the original Little Nightmares overlaps with the secrets of the Maw. 6, having been kidnapped and brought aboard the Maw by the ferryman, wakes up inside a suitcase at the bottom of the ship, haunted by visions of the lady. She begins her climb upwards through the nightmarish vessel. At first, she is weak, starving, and small, relying on the kindness of other children and gnomes who try to feed her. But with every step, her hunger grows uncontrollably. When she's trapped by the janitor, she briefly sees the Runaway Kid, now a gnome, though she doesn't recognize him. But later, when her hunger strikes again, a gnome offers her a sausage, the same one left behind in the DLC. In one of the game's most shocking moments, 6 ignores the food and devours the gnome instead. This single act represents the turning point in her story, the complete surrender to the same monstrous hunger that fuels the residents. Finally, she reaches the lady's chambers, using a mirror, the only one that isn't shattered. 6 confronts and defeats the lady, whose reflection is her weakness. In her final hunger-induced act, 6 consumes the lady, absorbing her power. Empowered and corrupted, 6 walks through the dining hall, draining the life from everyone. As she steps into the light at the end, she is no longer just a victim. She is something else entirely, something powerful, something terrifying. But what comes next for her? Redemption or ruin? With Little Nightmares 3 on the horizon, the timeline is set to expand once again, this time with 2 new protagonists, Low and Alone. They will take center stage as they navigate a new location in the nowhere known as the Spiral. So far, neither characters appear to have direct ties to 6, Mono, or the Runaway Kid, but that's never a guarantee in this universe. Every Little Nightmare story tends to echo another, and with 6's fate still unresolved, many fans suspect that she may return. Perhaps not as a friend, but as something far more ominous. Until then, the nowhere continues to exist as a realm of endless hunger and fear, where innocence is fragile and escape always comes at a price. So, in summary, The Little Nightmares is a timeline that is intricately woven about children being devoured by monsters and of survivors who slowly become the very creatures they flee from. From the fall of the girl in Very Little Nightmares to Mono's transformation in Little Nightmares 2 to 6's descent into darkness, every thread connects through the tragedy and transformation. This is not just a horror story, it is a commentary on survival, loss, and how easily the innocent can become monstrous in a world built on hunger. And with Little Nightmares 3 approaching, one thing is for certain, the nightmare is far from over. Please, if you enjoyed this video, kindly hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell icon so you can get notified when I drop new videos like this, as I am desperately trying to get to 1K subscribers by the end of this year. And until next time, peace and love.
Incredible.